Smash Ultimate has a ton of characters to choose from, and usually everybody has their one favorite fighter they regularly play and mastered. And as soon as you play random to those, your skills crumble to dust and it feels like you just picked up the game. But what if you actively want to learn more characters besides your typical main? And I don't talk about learning Lucina after being a Morph main for 5 years. I'm talking about a complete change from Jigglypuff to Fox. On the one side you have a very floaty character with good horizontal movement that can edgeguard pretty well, and on the other side you have a character with extreme run and fall speed who excels with his on-stage neutral and advantage game. Today I want to teach you how you can learn any character in this game by following these simple steps. I've done a ton of videos where I learned a character for 3 days and entered a tournament, and with some characters I even succeeded and won after only 3 days. And now I want to share my secrets with you. So let's get started. Chapter 1. Stats and Movement. Characters come in many different shapes and colors, and this is no different for the character's stats. As mentioned earlier with Jigglypuff and Fox, the characters themselves have stats which make them unique, like air acceleration, fall speed and jump height, which can have a huge impact on how your character feels. Take this as an example. I play Link on Battlefield and I can easily reach the side platforms with a full hop. However, if I try the same thing on Yoshi's story, Link won't reach the side platforms, because they are slightly too high. Now, if I switch to a seemingly similar character, Young Link, you notice that he is able to full hop on the side platforms of Yoshi's story, because he and Toon Link have a higher full hop than their taller counterpart. Link either has to waste his double jump to reach the platform, or has to waveland after a full hop to reach it. Many players say they are very similar, but I wouldn't call that similar at all. This fact alone already makes a huge difference in gameplay. And I only talked about jump height here, not to mention running speed, horizontal air speed, fast fall speed and more. What I want you to do is the following when you learn a new character. First, just simply move around. Test out the character's stats like running speed, fall speed, how they behave airborne and so on. Get a feeling for the speed of your character. Second, test out the range of your moves. How close do you have to be to hit your back air? Also, how safe even is your back air? For that, just press shield after you executed your move. Does your up smash also hit on the side and drag somebody up? Or can you only hit somebody directly above you? If you figured out the very basics of your character, you can move on to the next step. Chapter 2. Character-specific techniques. Okay, now slow down. We're already going over the specific techniques and not the combos? Yes, that's correct. There are some characters that require you to learn specific techniques before you can even combo with them. A good example here would be Ice Climbers. How are you gonna perform desync combos if you don't even know how to desync in the first place? Before you master the combos, you have to master the character's movement and their techniques. Most of the characters are pretty straightforward, like Mario, who doesn't have a lot of techniques to offer, and it all boils down to he can be reverse fireball or his raw back air is pretty good, which are universal character techniques. Then there are other characters like Link who can use the remote bomb to bomb recover. I have a guide on that. And then there is Steve. Yep, this blockhead has a ton of specific techniques. Now the question is, which techniques are important for which character? Because you for sure do not need Kazooie fast cancel if you just started playing Banjo and Kazooie. But Samus bomb ledge traps might be important to rack up more percent and potentially taking a stock. For this I recommend to either ask other players who play the character you want to learn or watch character specific guides on YouTube. There are a ton of guides out there which go over this specifically, and in all of my 3-day challenge videos I watched some YouTube tutorials to see which special techniques I had to learn. Chapter 3. Combo Game. Now it's finally time for the sick stuff. But before we start, it is very important to remember that this section is either good to get some extra percents in, or that this section literally defines your character. So if you are learning a character like Luigi or Kazuya, then this is the part you spend the majority of your time in, and it's definitely a good idea to watch videos about combo routes. I mean, this is good for any character, but these two definitely need it. Now if you do not play a touch of death character, here are the things I usually look out for when starting out with a new character. Low and mid percent combos like throw combos or moves that start a combo. Simple 2 to 3 hit combos, which are your bread and butter and easy to use. Kill confirms, because we don't want our opponents to live until 200%. Getting a general idea of how well moves link together. And last, do not start with overly complicated combos. Let's say you're learning Link and want to practice this combo game. I would not advise you to learn bomb loops in the beginning. They can be very difficult to perform and even character specific. I would learn some simple low and mid percent combos like boomerang into fair, strong nair into grab, down tilt into raw back air up special, and some kill confirms like back air 1 into up special or up smash. Even if you only hit these smaller combos, the important takeaway here is that you still brought your opponent into a disadvantageous position, and from here on out, you can abuse that and keep your opponent in this state. Let's take this clip here as an example. I used my bomb recovery to get back on stage again. Seeing how Kazuya didn't have enough time to hit me, I used my boomerang to get a hit in and quickly followed up with my forward air. One of the easy combos I talked about. Because I sent Kazuya airborne and into a disadvantageous position, I had enough time to quickly pull a remote bomb. I wanted to throw a boomerang to prepare a ledge trap if Kazuya grabs the ledge, but he recovered high on stage. Because he was still in a landing position, all I had to do was to go out of his threat range and whiff punish his fair after he landed, and from here on out I was able to go all out and finish him with a bomb footstool combo. While the more complicated combo took the stock, we shouldn't forget what got Kazuya into this position in the first place. It was the boomerang into forward air. Without it, I could not have gotten the opportunity to convert it into a bigger combo. As you learn the character for more hours and days, you can slowly but surely incorporate more complicated combos, but always keep it simple in the beginning. It will also help you getting a better feeling for your character. Chapter 4: Neutral Game. This is not only the hardest part to learn with every single character, but it is also the most important part. The neutral is a state where no player has an advantage over the other. Let's say we're both playing Captain Falcon on Final Destination and everybody has the same amount of stage control. The game is 50% in everybody's favor. Now how can you score a hit and tip the game into your favor? Definitely not by using Captain Falcon's slowest move in existence. This is a surefire way to get punished. This is where chapter 1 and 2 are shining again. You practice the movement of your character, you know the limitations of your character, and you know the special techniques of your character. You can combine all the knowledge you've gained over the past days together to score a hit. Neutral is a lot about conditioning and baiting your opponent to do certain actions. A very simple example of playing neutral is Samus. You can use either her missile or charge shot to understand what your opponent rather wants to do. Do they want to A. shield or parry the projectile, or B. jump over the projectile? If they chose A, you can cancel your charge shot and connect the grab. If they chose B, you can call out the jump and punish with a fair. What is important here is that you need to figure out which moves to use in neutral to score that hit. A general rule of thumb for me is the following. Projectiles are good to force approaches. Swords and ranged moves in general are good to keep your opponent out. Fast movement speed, grounded and airborne are used to keep your opponent guessing where you are gonna end up, which often makes them preemptively throw out their own moves, which you can punish. Fast moves are your go-to moves to quickly surprise your opponents. Safe moves are good to throw out without many consequences. Defensive moves like up out of shield are good defensive options if you're in a hairy situation. And never ever use slow and highly punishable moves like Falcon Punch in neutral. Use fast and safe moves. Neutral is a very broad topic to discuss, because you can play neutral with any character in many different ways. Even discussing neutral for one character alone deserves a separate video for each and every character. And neutral does not only include your own character, it also includes your opponent's character. There are almost 8,000 different matchups in this game. If you include all the different Mii special combinations, there are actually more than 8,000 matchups in Smash Ultimate, which is honestly an insane amount. Playing with only one character requires you to learn a slightly different or maybe even completely different neutral game against each and every character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And this brings us to our last topic. Chapter 5: Matchup Knowledge. Now the last and another very important part in this game is the matchup knowledge. Compared to any other topic, this is not really the most straightforward to learn, because it requires you to actually play against real players. For this, the answer is very obvious. Go online and play against other players. Join Discord servers to play against the characters you struggle against, or just straight up participate in tournaments. Or in short, play against the character you want to practice against. Alright, now that the obvious where do we learn a matchup is out of the way, now we ask ourselves, how do we learn a matchup exactly? When learning a matchup, I make sure to try a lot of different things out and see what is working. Some things might even seem completely stupid, and I obviously get hit because of it, but I'm here to learn and we only learn from mistakes. And if you just started out playing a character, you might as well try around as much as possible. I give you a very simple example on how to overcome a scenario in a specific matchup. I am playing against Pac-Man and every single time this character lands, I get hit by his hydrant. It seems like I cannot punish this character at all when he's landing and I just have to let him land. But honestly, Hydrant has a big weakness. It doesn't cover Pac-Man's side and only the area below Pac-Man. but Pac-Man is not always throwing the hydrant out. To learn how to fight this, I need to understand why Pac-Man is doing the hydrant in the first place. If I run towards Pac-Man, the Pac-Man player sees that I'm slowly approaching the area where a hydrant would hit me. But what if I just fake it out? That I'm entering this danger zone and instead punish the area where Pac-Man doesn't have protection. And that's exactly what I'm doing. With this example, I want to show you two important aspects about matchups. First, why did I receive damage? And second, how can I inflict damage? If you want to learn a matchup, you have to ask yourself these two questions constantly. A good way to do this is actively play against good players, analyzing your own sets and even watch sets of top players. Open a document on your PC, smartphone, or even an old-fashioned notebook and write down your thoughts on the matchup. And if you really struggle in certain areas, you can ask other players for advice like, how do I get off the ledge versus Samus as Mario? Lucina keeps me juggled the whole time when playing Ness. What can I do about it? And so on. But be very specific about your problems. As well as neutral, matchups take time to learn and you have to actively play against other players to gather the information you need to succeed. Real matches help you to get better in neutral, advantage and in disadvantage. Many viewers have watched my 3-day challenge videos and my formula is always the same. I go into training mode and practice the general movement and techniques of characters, followed by the combo game. And once I feel comfortable in moving around, I play some matches against real players to learn the matchups and fight against many different playstyles. It is important to not get discouraged, because I can promise you that there is a high chance of failing with a new character, even if you've spent a ton of time in practice mode beforehand. You still have to get used to fighting in a real match against real players and not demolishing a sandbag in training mode. And sometimes even your habits from your previous character carry over to your new character. I hope I was able to help you and have fun and good luck with your new character. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more content like this, feel free to like, share, comment and subscribe. And if you're more interested in seeing casual gameplay or live streams, you can also take a look at the Sillintor Vault channel or our Twitch streams. All links are in the description. I see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye bye.